You work hard to create your content online, so what are you doing to protect it? Yeah, let's talk about that. Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to the Brian Nichols Show. Well, hey there, folks. Brian Nichols here on the Brian Nichols Show, and thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you live from our BNC studios here in lovely Indiana. Don't let your outdated business prospecting tips put you at risk. Learn more on how to increase your sales over at BrianNicholsShowConsulting.com. All right, folks, if you're a content creator or if you're just in the greater Liberty world out there, you know how tough it is when we're facing not just a different way of doing things, politically speaking, but also when we're facing the content moderators at these large, big tech corporations. So how do we fight back? What can you do as a content creator? Well, joining us today from ContentSafe.co, Darrell Becker is joining us here on the show. Darrell, welcome to the Brian Nichols Show.
Hey, Brian, so awesome to join you here.
Absolutely awesome to have you joining us on the show, Darrell. And I'm looking forward to talking about all things you are doing at Content Safe to help protect our data and, more importantly, to help protect us from online censorship. So do us a favor before we get there. Introduce yourself to the Brian Nichols Show audience.
Right on. I'm Darrell Becker. I'm over here in the big island of Hawaii, and I am so psyched to have helped to co-create Content Safe, which is a video distribution company. I love to listen to alt media. I've been listening to so much alt media since pretty much I moved to this island in 2008. That's where it suddenly, all of a sudden, my eyes were opened up like to all these different amazing shows. I'm talking about the Corbett Report and the many pieces of work by Richard Grove, who eventually went on to do Tragedy and Hope. And then he's right now, his big show, GrandTheftWorld.com. You can see Grand Theft World on all, videos and podcatchers. And it's been really amazing to work, back behind the scenes. I've been more of a pod guest on guests on shows like yours than actually doing my own show. Though I do have a show, Not Medical Advice, since I'm in the holistic healthcare field, and I get to say all those things on my show that I can't say in front of my clients because it's just totally inappropriate and not helpful for their conditions, so it's great to have a platform. As you know, isn't it so great to have a platform to say whatever you want, uncensored?
But that's the trick, isn't it, Darrell? Because we think it's uncensored, and yet I know many a content creator, they've logged on to their YouTube account, they're getting ready to go post a brand new video, only to discover, sorry, your content has violated our terms of service. Your page is no longer available. Oh my gosh, kick in the gut. Years of trying to build up your audience, years of content on that page, nuked in flash of an eye. So talk to us about what ContentSafe.co is doing to help change that narrative.
Well, first of all, beyond just actually helping to prevent censorship, we really focus especially on growing your audience, because if you're trying to grow an audience over on YouTube or, with Facebook Lives, and you're generally promoting yourself video over there and Instagram, as you know, these big tech companies, like just making links over there on Twitter, they can easily just remove you, shadow ban you, so that you just are not getting followers, that all of a sudden what you thought were, people seeing you aren't people who aren't really seeing you. You have a bunch of bots watching you. And then that's the main problem, is you've got a great message, but your message is against the actual big tech agenda. So the only way to really make it work is to grow your whole platform, to grow your entire channel of content over on these other big platforms. I'm talking about Rumble, BitChute, and also, of course, Odyssey, all these band.video, like Gab TV. There's amazing list of all of these platforms. And so what we do is you just basically are publishing to one place. You can send it to us at contentsafe.co, or you just keep publishing on the places. Some people, they already have a place on. For example, they're on Rockfin. That's a subscription-only channel that a lot of our clients have. Or, for example, they're on Rumble on regular, or maybe even, Odyssey. BitChute depends, because uploading to BitChute can be a pain. Upload failed. But that's where we come in, because all we have to do is just get one copy of the video, whether it's directly to us at Content Safe, or if it's just the publishing way. Say, where do you put your stuff, Brian?
I usually do either YouTube, Rumble, or Odyssey.
Okay, so
for the video version of the show, for the podcast version, we're everywhere.
Yeah, of course. For podcasts, they already have an RSS feed, and there's so many podcatchers that do that. We do that service too to help people to take the MP3 and distribute it. But for the most part, it's the video distribution part that's the pain, right?
Yep.
So we're here to take the pain out of that republishing process. And if you've ever, if are you like a one-man show? Do you have other people like as a media team doing it for you?
It's a combination. Yeah.
Okay, so then your media team could be doing other things for you. They could be making really awesome best of clips. We can actually take the distribution part and just get it up there on all of those places. That's your media team is useful for making, like more, helping you make more content, helping
Yep.
you do edits, helping you get more graphics like inserted into there or things. That's what they're for. What we do is we're there to publish. We're there to like get it really up there so that it's, oh, so you're going on Rumble? Well, then keep going on Rumble. We'll also, we can put it everywhere else. Or if you're going up there on YouTube, we can certainly take it off of the YouTube and put it everywhere that you want it to go. And we used to have like a lifetime subscription for new clients. That's over because we're now, we already have filled up enough lifetime clients, and we've moved on to, hard launch of Content Safe. We're
Nice.
subscription only, and we're here to grow your audience. That's the major thing, because if you're up there on say like 5 channels or 10, like this, we have up to 12 active publishing platforms that we can work with. You could really be in front of a lot of eyes and ears. That's a lot more people like understanding that you've got consulting services, Brian, that's a lot more people are saying, I know you, Brian. Now I trust you and I like you and I want to hire you. Like KLT, the know, like, trust, and so that's what it requires. I cannot tell you how many clients I've gotten just from being on podcasts. I had a great time going on Tinfoil Hat with Sam Tripoli and other people like that. There's a lot of really amazing places to get out there. And by the way, Sam and Tinfoil Hat, they're clients of ours. So we've got the Corbett Report. We've got some other big names that we love to take care of. Already taking care of Richard Grove, Grand Theft World. When we get their videos out there to many different places, it makes for the problems to be less of an issue.
Right.
So you can get censored off of YouTube or be shadow banned or have your numbers, your subscribers like artificially lowered. And that's less of an issue, because if you're really not able to just use code words, for the in the arm kind of thing, and like constantly saying code words for everything to somehow not have the spiders that are watching on big tech censor you, shadow ban you. And you know what I mean by shadow ban,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. But for the audience, that means basically that you think that it's going out there to all of your subscribers. It's not. It's actually going out there to a very small fraction of your subscribers. And you can know this and test this out by saying like, I hit the bell on YouTube and I get like no notifications for certain shows at all, like none. And I go back there and I see, guess what? They published, since I've been away for a couple weeks, they've made like 10 shows. And I got no notifications for it at all. That's because they are shadow banned. But if you,
well,
well,
and I guess for everybody listening, right? This is like, this is a problem. We see it across the board, whether it's your favorite YouTube channel or anyone out there trying to start up a YouTube channel that's trying to do things a different way. Yeah, this is a real like problem that we're experiencing. So this sounds like a great solution. So how does it work? What does contentsafe.co do differently than other sites?
Right now, we're pioneers, and this was, the same thing like pioneers back in the Old West. If you go out there and you're the only one doing a thing, you get a whole lot of rejection. So like since 2018, when we started this, when Alex Jones got censored off of YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and MailChimp, like we're talking like email services, when he was censored off of, a lot of different services, like a Patreon, like everything, any possible service that was mainstream, they censored Alex Jones. And at that same time, by the way, 2018, they censored a list of 1,000 other creators that had nothing to do with, Alex Jones, or sometimes weren't even contentious. They just threw in like women's knitting circles and other like, video groups. They had no reason at all to be censored, but they were just like, I don't like you anyway. That's kind of like the thing. You're Republican or whatever. And that's all it took. And that's when we started the company. And we had a whole lot of no's coming, like, come on, we're ready. We can do it. We're going to write the script. So what we have is we have, our own programming script to automatically upload the shows, way easier than what you have to do. So for example, how big is your library of shows, Brian?
Well, we're getting up to like 700 plus at this point, so quite a few.
So what we do is we can navigate all 700 plus onto, say, Odyssey or,
Get out of here.
Band.video. And no, we're not going to do it in a day, but it's going to be, because it's scripted, it's automatically running. So like, that job is maybe, I hope I'm not putting my foot in my mouth, but like, I think it's like a 5 to 8 day job, basically, of just getting all those shows up, because they'll just be running automatically, depending on how long the shows are, and the bandwidth, basically, that's the main issue. Well, we have everything automated, and obviously sometimes when things go wrong, as with it's the interface with these companies. I'm talking like looking at you, BitChute, looking at you, Odyssey. The interface, they all require different things. They require a different size thumbnail. They require, how many characters you can have in your description of your show. They have different metrics that they're all using. We know those metrics for each of these platforms. So we're ready to adapt whatever it is that you have to that and just have it automatically uploaded. Right now, as far as I know, there is no other Hootsuite of video distribution. Hootsuite is a company that would, basically make it so that your social media presence gets out there: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc.
And they've also increased their fees by 45% this year, but that's Brian being pissed off for a whole different reason.
I did notice that. Yeah, that was that was some pain to everyone to feel, and because they also don't have a lot of competition.
Nope.
But when it comes to video distribution to these alt media companies, there are no big companies that want to do that, because that's in their best interest to have everyone on the censored platforms like YouTube. Like, by the way, I mean, even people get actually having contentious problems with Vimeo. That's a problem too. Yeah, imagine that. And like Patreon, getting kicked off of Patreon because your stuff is you're saying the naughty things, Brian. Can't be saying those things. And so this is the situation. We were talking with a prospective client just yesterday, talking about like how they're having issues with Vimeo, and it's expensive too. We have alternatives to that. We have actually a complete a la carte suite of services to offer content producers. So we could talk about that when it comes to transcripts, when it comes to getting things out there, when you have, when you're looking at payment platforms that are like doing you wrong, you know what I mean by payment platforms for sure, like all the cart, Stripe, etc. We have alternatives because we're in the business of serving alt media content producers. So that was me saying a whole lot of content safe words on this. Yeah, I can get a little excited about this. What's the biggest problems have you faced, Brian? Like what pain have you faced in terms of distribution?
Oh, it's just the fact of getting it distributed. I mean, if I want to grow my audience beyond the confines of, let's say, YouTube, right? It requires so much extra time, energy, effort to go to each of these individual sites and repost your episodes. So it becomes time prohibitive to spend that time doing that versus, as a content producer, what's my role? Produce content. So I find, and I know that there are other content producers out there who they struggle with that, but then also you're always towing that line. Like, can I have this guest on? Am I worried about being nuked off of the certain platform? Am I airing this episode on my regular show or behind a paywall? So there's all these things that are constantly ticking in the back of your mind, because all it takes, back to as we started off, that one strike, and then you've lost everything. So that's not, I mean, for some folks, they're like, oh, it's a YouTube page, whatever. If this is your world, that's your livelihood.
Yeah, and that's part of the whole tech angry or tangry situation that we like to say, upload failed, or wow, this upload is taking a long time to go to BitChute, isn't it? Isn't that taking a long time? Yeah, couldn't you be doing other things with yourself and your time and your computer? And yes, you can be doing other things. That's what we do. It's like we already have, we deal with that pain. It's kind of like to say, like, do you want to, thimble out each element of your septic tank, or you could get a septic company to come in and pump it. And that's
What
kind
an
of,
analogy.
yeah, I thought I would just go into the poop analogy, but
Why
like,
not?
because it is poop, like to have to spend time doing what is not you making creative work.
Yep.
Like that's ridiculous. And this is why, like maybe Brian will get you like in a call over there with Matt, who's the CEO of Content Safe, because find out all of the actual needs you have as a content producer, and what is your tech, what is your media team actually doing for you, and to say, well, you're missing a few things here, or like are you getting like them out there, that kind of thing. And this is where it's like, the completely customized, application to a client.
Right.
But, when it comes to just getting you up there on like at least a minimum of 5 platforms on the regular, and just freeing up that much time, that's for sure what we love to focus on, because that's what we do. And that's how it actually keeps your content safe, because it's for sure it is up on those platforms. We're looking into, all kinds of things. Have you heard of interplanetary file systems?
Negative.
IPFS. Yeah. So that, of course not. They were associated for a while with Filecoin, another cryptocurrency, but basically that's one place where the people who are truly dedicated to getting their content for sure uncensored, where you have to turn off the internet before you can turn off access to anything that's on IPFS. And that's a way, like we could have that up there. But there's not a lot of people who are using IPFS. So it's not so much of a grow your audience kind of thing, more of like
Right.
a for sure about protecting and saving the content. And yeah, when it comes to the topics of liberty and what you can and can't say and who you can and can't have on your show. I mean, I guess you had Peter McCullough on your show before?
No, Dr. Jen Vandewater from the Wellness Company. Yep.
But she's
his company.
associated.
Yes.
Yeah, he's associated. Yeah. So you can say certain things, obviously, and then you could say, for example, like that, spike proteins and things of that nature. But as soon as you, like, if you have, like, for example, Dr. Andrew Kaufman or Dr. Tom Cowan on your show, and they're going to call into question things such as the germ theory of disease itself, and they're going to call into question the actual methodology of virology, the actual methods used. And so, if you were to have, you'll see that some people, they just will not want to touch certain topics, and that could be really contentious. And it's a good thing to keep that one in mind, because obviously you don't want to alienate your guest and bring up the wrong thing in the wrong way sometimes. But I will see like the friction going on in the older set of doctors and medical providers who just they've really invested a lot of money and time and their life and their belief system into believing a certain thing. I know, because I've been a medical provider for 25 years now, but for the first 22 years I concluded wrong about the germ theory of disease. Thought that there were still like that viruses could cause disease. They just hadn't actually, they blamed some diseases on fake viruses. Like I'm talking about AIDS right now. They blamed some, and by the way, beriberi, they blamed that, vitamin B deficiency on a virus back in the day. They blamed scurvy and things on things. And that was before, electron microscopy. So if you touch on certain topics, medically speaking, especially, you're gonna find out if the person has an open mind or not. It's very hard to explain something to someone if their salary depends upon them not understanding it. You know that one from Upton Sinclair? Like, it's meaning their mental, emotional salary, their relationship to their colleagues, their spouse, their friends. They can't afford to even consider, much less believe, a completely contradictory idea if they've invested decades into believing it. It's a religious thing. This
Sunk
is
cost,
scientism.
man.
Sunken cost fallacy. Yeah, there's that one. I don't know if you ever had a guest like where there was friction, like because you brought up a topic that was kind of,
friction. I wouldn't say friction so much as just uncomfortableness, especially if there's a guest that we are completely polar opposites on politics, which I haven't really had more recently, namely because many people don't want to come on shows that they don't echo the same thing that they believe. So I've had some guests who they get a little, not confrontational, but more a little guarded in terms of feeling that they can openly express themselves, but also and I guess this goes into part of the problem with this, right? Is that we as a society have become so self-regulatory that we are almost censoring ourselves before the big media entities can censor us. So we're almost doing their work on their behalf because we've been so conditioned.
Yeah, and so self-censorship is one of the larger issues that I think like negatively impacted and I would say infected the alt media that I love to listen to and watch. And that's kind of been an issue. I think that going along to get along, being friends with everybody, like I get it. Like it's good to make a bridge of empathy, like I used to say, like building these bridges of empathy so that, with the bridge between me and you, Brian, we could drive these 18 wheelers of logic and reason and evidence back and forth, with a solid bridge with integrity. And, obviously, if the empathy seems gone, if it seems like, F you, Brian. Like, I think you need to subscribe to the terrain model of disease right now and completely just get away from the idea that you catch a cold from a virus. And like, I mean, that would be very confrontational. And I'm not doing that, that's not my style. My style is I'm going to try to build a bridge. I'm going to try to find a way. But beyond that, like, I think that, being too much of kid gloves and just not speaking of things is an issue. So
Amen.
I really want to encourage like that, to try to bring people on who do have a different political opinion. I'm for example of the opinion that I think that mathematically I haven't seen that my vote matters, or that I would say tactically speaking, I haven't seen that corruption doesn't completely sway, especially like I don't know, the last 45 elections, I would say, you know,
All but the first.
plus the 8 presidents who were there before Washington. No, I'm sorry. Was it 14 presidents before Washington? I
But
just
we're not going
looked
to talk
that one
about
up.
that.
We don't.
They're
We don't
not a
have
part of
to.
history. No.
Yeah, I mean, how about the topic of liberty, for example? Because that I saw like so much in this scroll underneath me here, like about everything liberty, and I'm like wondering, when did you get into that topic of freedom and liberty? When did you find that one?
And I guess across the board is 2015, back when I first started getting into this world, right? And it was more so, I think everybody has this moment in their lives where they kind of look around and they're like, both teams are kind of full of shit, right? And like once you hit that moment, you're like, okay, there's got to be something else out there that makes more sense. And once you kind of get into this liberty world, it's we talk about this in sales. Once you help people see something, they can't unsee it. And the same thing is true once you kind of start going through and you start to have the light bulbs all turn on, the proverbial light bulb. It's like, oh, that makes sense. Oh, and then all of a sudden that helps make this make sense, and you see the domino effect, right? And for me, it was a really fast domino effect. I guess I really turned into more of not just someone who was getting why this stuff works, but I saw the value. I wanted to become, almost an advocate for liberty, to help sell the ideas that we're talking about. And I love the fact that you hit the nail on the head when it comes to empathy, because, and we've done many a show here on the Brian Nichols Show about the importance of empathy in sales, because if you do not show the person that you're speaking to that you understand why they have this pain, to literally walk in their shoes with them, then they're not going to listen to you, because they don't think that you know what they're experiencing. You're completely on a different playing field. So, and I just looked at the time. I didn't realize we're already hard pressed for time. I have another show coming up here in 5 minutes. So let's do this.
Wow.
As I know it goes by fast, man. As we go towards the tail end of the episode, do me a favor. This is a conversation we're going to keep going on at some point, Darrell. So don't worry, we're going to have you on again. But let's get people directed towards where, if they want to find out more about content safe, they want to protect their content online so it's not getting nuked by the big tech overlords. Where can they do that? And also, where can folks go ahead, support you, follow you if they want to continue the conversation?
Right on. So definitely go to contentsafe.co. I want you to just go there and immediately go to our contact if you're ready to like set up like an individual customized build of whatever it is where you want to get on 5 platforms, 10 platforms, and grow your audience as a content producer. That's what we do. We help you grow your audience, and that protects your content. That keeps it all safe. And then for sure, I definitely, for folks who are curious about all things medical, I mean, I highly recommend, just like consider, if you, based on this show, and like and trust me now, and you've got some powerfully challenging medical situations that just resist all of the standard treatment, well, it's probably because you're missing some information. And I'm ready to give anyone who's watching the Brian Nichols Show a free 15-minute consult. You can just use my special private email, voluntaryvisions@gmail.com. You can use that. I'll give you a free 15 minutes and give you some pointers and send you on the way. And I do like more extensive consults for actual money, but that for sure, I'll give you a gift of a small bit of pointers on how to get somewhere with things, because chronic illnesses and injuries are no joke. And if you trust in the medical system to save you, you are going to have a hard time, just like that skiing instructor in South Park would say. If you do that, you're going to have a hard time.
Yep.
You're going to have a bad time, basically.
Very much so.
So yeah, I want to point people in that direction. And yeah, I do have a show, Not Medical Advice, where I get to say all those things that I just said.
Well, how about this, Darrell? We'll make sure in the show notes we direct people all towards those different links. So folks, if you want to go ahead, learn more, continue the conversation, do me a favor, click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It's going to bring you over to briannicholsshow.com, where you can find today's episodes, all those aforementioned links. Plus, you're going to find the entire transcript from today's episode and the video version of the show, which, yes, it is right now over on Odyssey, Rumble, and YouTube. But Darrell, we're going to be talking some time off air here, because I think there's an opportunity to grow the audience, just like I teach my sales teams, right? You want to have a better end of the month. Have a bigger pipeline at the start of the funnel. The same thing is true when we're trying to reach more people. Have more eyeballs and ears that can actually consume the content versus relying on one different platform. So yes, folks, if you got some value from today's show, some content producers out there, but please go ahead, share today's episode. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. And by the way, folks, we have sponsorship openings here on the Brian Nichols Show. If you are interested, email me, brian@briannicholsshow.com. And otherwise, folks, we had an awesome conversation with our good friends, Austin and Stephanie Peterson. They wrote a brand new kids book. It's called Calvin, the Coolest President. And here's the coolest part. All the artwork AI generated. I can't wait to show that episode with you guys. So with that being said, if you're here on YouTube, we're going to continue the conversation over there right here. And with that being said, please do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that little subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a single time we go live. Fingers crossed it works that way. And if not, Content Safe is going to go ahead and get my back. So with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Darrell Becker. We'll see you later.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.